22 long rifle versus 22 Magnum, and what I have today is our Winchester Super X ammunition. Now our Super X and our 22 Magnum is a 40 grain, it happens to be a semi-jacketed hollow point. That's just kind of how they make that. Now our Winchester Super X and our 22 LR is more of a plated hollow point. That's also a 40 grain, but what's interesting about this ammunition is this is basically the Winchester version of the CCI Velociter. You know, typical 22 long rifle high velocity ammo is 40 grains rated at 1280 feet per second through a rifle. Well, this stuff is rated at 1435 feet per second through a rifle, so it's going to have a lot more power even in a handgun. So I'm going to see how 22 long rifle and a 40 grain hollow point and a very powerful one compares to 22 Magnum. Using my 3-inch Ruger LCR-X revolver for our 22 mag and our Taurus TX22 4.1 inch for our 22 long rifle, because we have basically identical travel from the bullet nose to the muzzle. I've put rods down there and checked it, and it's basically identical. So that's a good way to compare those. Same size firearm overall, basically. If you're going to carry one, you could carry the other one about the same way. So we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. Then I'm going to hit my 10% clear ballistic block test here. I'm just going to go on the plain clear ballistic, see what the best potential is of those cartridges. And then after that, I'm going to put on 4 layers of denim here on the front of this first 3-inch that represents our pectoral muscle. And after that, a 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard that represents hitting ribs or sternum. That'll be more of our real world simulation. And then I'm going to shoot my steel and see what kind of practical accuracy and shootability I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, I'm about 5 yards from the target, 4 yards from the chronograph. First up, we have our 22 long rifle, right at 1435 feet per second through a rifle. Obviously, we're not going to get that with the 4-inch barrel, but let's see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get on our 4-inch barrel here. 983, 1003. 1027, 1026, I'll read 1027, 1001. So what I'm seeing here is it's not really that much faster or more powerful than typical, but to me it seemed like the velocity was kind of more consistent, which makes sense, and maybe a little bit more accurate as well. So our 22 mag, this is rated at 1910 feet per second. Obviously, we're not going to get that through a rifle, but let's see what we actually get here in our 3-inch barrel. 1380, 1358, 1325, 1347, 1368. 1384. So there was a few that were kind of low there. Accuracy, it's hitting a little bit high for me. Case ejection's okay. Let's do our ballistic shell block and see what we get with these. All right, our best potential here through plain clear ballistics, 22 long rifle. Try our 22 Magnum now. We'll take a look. All right, so there's definitely some differences there. I can't tell if the long rifle is expanded or if that's just a little bit of bullet deformation. But what we have here is a penetration of about 11 inches. 22 Magnum here, extreme over penetration, very straight line penetration. I see this a lot with semi-jacketed bullets where the front kind of flattens and it just goes straight forward like a flat nose, but looking just shy of 29 inches, so that's definitely over penetration. Let's put on our denim and our MDF and see how they compare that way. All right, 22 long rifle, 4 layers of denim, 1/4-inch MDF. All right, let's try our 22 mag now. We'll take a look. All right, so what I'm seeing here is it looks like in our more real world simulation, these did a lot better. You know, and a lot of that has to do just with how it changes them, the bullets a little bit. And I think, you know, probably we're reducing the penetration, or excuse me, we're reducing the expansion a little bit with our 22 long rifle. So that's going to make it push just a little bit deeper, and that's what we want to see. Now it does appear that once we hit this, or once we first went in those first 3 inches, there was a little bit of tumbling going on. But it does look like we have an adequate penetration of about 12, almost 12 and a half. So in a lot of respect, I think this is more what would happen in the real world. There's always going to be fabric and stuff like that, and you might hit ribs. Now with our 22 mag, we had enough velocity that it just kept trucking. However, this kind of did the opposite thing, where I think rather than reduce the expansion, it probably increased the deformation, and we have a very ideal penetration of about 18 and a half inches. So I would say in all regards here, well, it's kind of hard to say. In more of our quote-unquote real world, both of them did well. And then in our plain clear ballistics, you know, one did too much penetration, the other did not enough. So let me shoot my steel and see what kind of practical shootability I can get with these. All right, so taking a close-up look at these bullets here. Interesting, here's our 22 long rifle. You know, you can see it has a good hollow point. Now our 22 Magnum, that semi-jacket at hollow point just kind of squished like I thought. And what that does is it makes it a perfect flat point. I've seen that a lot. And we all know that flat points will penetrate very, very far. Like you could put a flat point 40 FMJ through 3 gel blocks easily. Now when we look at our 22 LR and Magnum going through the MDF, this really surprises me, because with our 22 LR, it actually bent and deformed more. I thought it would have done less. That's why we got more penetration, but no. It actually deformed in a really weird way. But still, it did well, and that would do some damage, especially going through sideways tumbling like that. Now with our 22 mag, you saw the one through plain gel, the one through the MDF. Now this happened exactly like I thought it would. You know, instead of being a flat point squishing back, it mushrooms out the way it's supposed to. So that MDF aids in that expansion. So what that's going to tell you is that something like this in more of the real world is going to be a lot better choice than something like this. But in a lot of ballistic tests, it'll look like it does terrible just because, you know, it's not hitting a bone simulation. But I'm going to say when we hit our bone simulation, I'd say our 22 mag seems a bit superior here. All right, I'm roughly 10 yards from the target from my muzzle. I did mess around with the sights off camera, try to get these right on this 22 mag. So let's see how these shoot for me. Pretty good. And I did this last time I filmed. I skipped around with a little bit of a short stroke on this. I'm not used to this LCRX trigger, but it looks like our point of aim is a lot better. Now 22 LR, how will this shoot? All right, that hits pretty good. Let me back it up a little bit. All right, 40 yards from the target. I'm not really gonna do dick in drills, but you know, a lot of people are interested in that kind of distance, so I can do it with this 22 mag. All right, so it hits. 22 LR. Let's see what this does. Yeah, a little too fast there. All right. Let me back it up a little more just for fun. See how they shoot. All right, so 75 yards. I quit doing this for a while, and then I had a lot of people saying, I love seeing that. But then when I was doing it, a lot of people were yelling at me that they hate seeing it. So let me slow it down, see if I can make any hits from 75 yards. Theoretically, this ammo should shoot better. The higher velocity, I guess consistency on bullet weight. So let's see what we get. Ooh, that's a squib. That is a squib. Let me take this guy apart here. All right, so it appears we did clear We cleared the bore, luckily. But I think that bullet probably only went 10 feet, hit the ground there. So, let's put this guy back together. There we go. We'll keep going with those. That was a dud, but it fizzled just a little bit, but it didn't move the bullet out of the case. I can't hit anything at this distance. But I'm actually glad I'm doing this, because if I would have done this here, where I was just, you know, dumping rounds as fast as possible up close up, that'd probably not be a good thing with getting that round. And what if it was a squib? And you know what? I had another magazine. I don't have it on me. Where did it go? I think it's back there somewhere. Alright, so I found my magazine up with my ammo up there. So let's see if I can at least make one hit here. Another one of those funky rounds. Something sounded a little off there. It just loaded auto. And that keeps dropping rounds. What is going on? So when I started hitting, I started aiming right here on that target. So I'm assuming they're dropping low, which makes sense for ammo like that. So 22 mag. Gonna aim center mass, see what happens. From what I can tell, those are hitting. Case ejection is getting sticky, but actually, even though I cleaned my TX22 pistol, I did not clean this revolver when it came out. So there's a lot of unburnt stuff, or burnt stuff from before. But it looks like the sight adjustment that I messed with it is working for this revolver. I was doing very well, and I started missing. So overall, this ammo, questionable here. Now let's talk about our ballistic test. What I saw is both did pretty good. I'm gonna say overall, obviously though, the 22 mag did better, because even when you look at that that over penetration of like 26 inches, yeah, that's over penetration. But the thing we have to keep in mind though, you know, ballistics gel often is a pretty good representation of flesh, kind of a 1-to-2 ratio, or 2-to-1, or however you want to say it, where, you know, if it went, let's say 6 inches on body, it's probably going to go about 12 inches in gel. However, when you start going to something smaller, it seems like the accuracy of the calibration isn't quite as good with something smaller. That's just what I've seen. Or something bigger. And then the calibration really changes up when you hit something like a rib simulation. But more than that, what it is here is that light bullets, 40 grains, when they hit something that's going to be like a rib simulation, they lose a lot of steam and momentum very, very quickly. So when you go and look at like a standard ballistic test, everybody's going to be like, oh, that's over penetration, that's going to over penetrate. But I can just about guarantee, if you had to use this gun in self-defense and you made some shots right here on an attacker, it's not going to go through them because of the ribs. And I think that rib simulation would show that. So based on that, our 22 mag did quite well. It put a lot of damage in there. didn't really over-penetrate when it mattered with the rib simulation. Now, if it went through just nothing but flesh, yeah, I do think it would go through clear, plain flesh without hitting bones, you know, to an over-penetrating level. I think if it hit somebody's belly right here, it would zip right through. But hitting that bone, it's going to reduce that steam a lot. So overall, 22 mag's pretty good. 22 long rifle here. I had high hopes for this. I thought it would be like kind of a an answer to the Velociter. But we all know that CCI ammo is really good ammo, and it's very rare that I get duds with that ammo. Back in the day, you know, 15 years ago, I used to have a little Mark III or Mark II or Mark III 2245. I would routinely buy those boxes of CCI Blazer, the cheapest of the cheap, that uses the same case and priming as the mini mag. And even though it was super cheap ammo, it was CCI, and I would run probably 2,000 rounds of that and maybe get one, maybe two duds in those rounds. That's where I look at something like Thunderbolt. I think I got 1 round per magazine in a 500 round box. So it looks like Winchester is kind of over there with Remington, and with, you know, just the basic, you know, priming isn't that good. So I would say don't use this for self-defense. In addition to that, what we saw a round that moved out 10 feet from the muzzle and dropped. I thought it was a squib. It was probably, you know, really close to being a squib. So no, don't use that for self-defense. But when it comes to the 22 mag, that's different. It's built different. The priming is different. You know, rimfire, when you're talking 22 mag, is different than when you're talking 22 LR. In my experience, it's very rare to get a 22 mag dud. I've got them here and there with other ammo, but you know, if I get a 50 round box, you know, I can go box after box after box after box with 22 mag and not get any duds. If I did that with just like basic Remington, Winchester, just mix it up with different stuff, I'm gonna get a dud at least 1 or 2 every box. So anyways, that's what you get today. Interesting ammo, Super X. It's not the Velociter, it's not comparable. Ballistically, it did okay, but I would avoid it for self-defense for sure. 22 mag, well, there's definitely better stuff out there too, but I would definitely use that over the 22 LR here. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.